Okay, good morning or good afternoon, whatever time it is that you're deciding to do this workout. So a lot of people seem to be put off with Pilates because of the whole breathing and confusion that goes along with it. So I'm hoping this is going to be an introductory class so that you can maybe make some sense of it and it might make you think about it for the future. So we're going to have our feet apart. So the first thing into Pilates is to making sure we've got that correct posture. Knees slightly softened, shoulders down. So the hips are over the knees are over the ankles. Chin should be parallel to the ground, so you should feel like someone is lengthening you through the spine, pulling you through the top of your head. The shoulders are down and the arms are heavy. Making sure our pelvis is in our neutral position, so if I turn to the side, I just want you to do a few pelvic tilts, just bringing that pelvis forward and back. So we're not moving any other part of the body, we're just moving the pelvis. So just a few little tilts so you can feel this is incorrect, this is incorrect. So we're going to make it smaller, just make those tilts smaller so that we can then finish in the centre. So if you think about some headlights on the front of those hips, they should now be facing forward. So we're going to go into your breathing. So I often find it helps to place your hands on your rib cage with your middle fingers just slightly touching. Now the whole point of Pilates is to make sure we breathe into the rib cage laterally and not into the shoulders where we hold our tension and stress. So if you place the hands onto the rib cage, you're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth as if you're breathing through a straw. And as you do that, you should feel your hands ever so slightly come apart and back together. That's when you know you're filling your rib cage up laterally. Okay? So we're going to take a deep breath in. Now if you continue to take those breaths for me, you should be making sure your shoulders are not moving and you should be feeling that sensation of your ribs blowing up like a balloon and then deflating again. So just keep breathing in your own time, get a sense of where your rib cage needs to be and get a sense of where that air is filling into the lungs. Now, after you've done that, we need to think about our core. So Pilates is all about engaging this core, which involves the pelvic floor muscles as well. So your belly button, you're going to think about it being pulled from the back, okay? So imagine I put a really tight corset on you and you're going to draw that belly button in as tight as possible. So that feeling of not being able to breathe, not being able to move, everything is tight and tense, and then relax. On the next time you do that, I want you to bring that in just halfway. So the corset's still too tight, but it's not as tight as what it was before, all right? So a good example I like to use is thinking of a pair of jeans that you're not quite been able to get into yet and it's really uncomfortable and tight to wear. So draw that belly button in to about halfway and then relax. So it should still be uncomfortable. Now the next time we do it, we're looking for that perfect core engagement. So the jeans are on, they're nice and snug, they're keeping you all tight, but you're able to breathe and you're able to move. So we're going to draw that belly button in and you should just be able to feel a tightening around the abdomen. And that is where our core needs to remain throughout the whole exercise. So I can still talk, I can still move, but I've got that core engaged. Now, unfortunately, we have to talk about this pelvic floor because that is involved in the core engagement too. So I just want you to do a few pelvic floor lifts. So think about drawing that pelvic floor all the way up to the top floor. Imagine you've got into freezing cold water and you're sucking it all the way up. You're only going to hold on to it for maybe a couple of seconds before it drops back down. So keep lifting that pelvic floor up and down. Bring it up and down. Now each time you do it, just bring it up a little bit. So now come about halfway. So we're not putting it all the way up where you can't breathe. We're just bringing it up to about the 5th floor if you had 10 floors, okay? Do that a couple of times so you can feel that muscle working. And then just bring it to about 25%. So just that sensation of perhaps I need to go to the toilet but I can't quite yet. I know it's not the greatest thing to be talking about, but it will help you realise where that pelvic floor is. So all of that combined, we should now have our feet hip width apart. pelvis facing forward. Shoulders are down away from the ears, head's lifted, lengthening through the spine. Our core is engaged in with the abdominal muscles, up with the pelvic floor, and we are breathing out and in. Now, before you do every class, it's good to practice that. Practice your breathing, practice engaging that core, and practice engaging the pelvic floor muscles, because without that, the Pilates is going to be a complete waste of time. Why do we need to do this? Because, one, it helps to relieve stress. If you're breathing properly, it relieves the stress from the tension in your neck and your shoulders. So that's why we need to breathe into the rib cage. Also, to have the core engaged properly, that is actually what's going to strengthen us and enable us to be able to do the exercises correctly. Okay, so let's begin. We're just going to start with our warm-up. So we're just going to mobilise the head to the side and back in. Now, if you can try and get into your own pattern of breathing on this warm-up, so just take a breath for one movement and then a breath for the next, so that you're just steadily breathing and at no point holding your breath. And we're going to take some half circles. We're just going to take it down, nothing else is moving, just the head, just mobilising that cervical spine. And again, this is where most of our tension lies, so it's good just to try and release some of it before we start. We're going to take the shoulders up to the ears and down the back, up to the ears and down. So feel those shoulder blades squeeze in together. And then we're going to take the arms up, keeping the shoulders down. So it's easy to lift, but I want you to try and constantly think about drawing those shoulder blades down the back, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. So it's a simple movement, but it's just making us concentrate on our breathing and concentrating on keeping that core engaged. We're going to take your hands into prayer. We're going to soften the knees even more. So we're going to bend, keeping the hips forward. We're just going to take some twists to the side. Good. Now here you'll see my head is following my hand. So I'm not moving my head separately. I want you to think about having maybe one of those neck collars on where you can't move your head. So nothing's moving apart from that upper spine. One more, and lower. Good. We're going to stretch that right arm up, again keeping it by the side of your head. Head stays in line with the spine, and we're just going to take a stretch over. So the fingertips are leaning down towards the toes and back up and into the other. So we're stretching and down. Good. And just one more on each side. Head stays in line with that spine. Good, so you should feel the stretch down the sides of the body. And here. And now we're going to take some squats to make sure we're mobilising those hips, knees and ankles. You're going to breathe in as you come down and out as you come up. So if I turn to the side, I want you to think about that bum going behind, so those knees are staying back from those toes. Breathe in to come down and breathe out to lift. The head stays looking forward, the chest is open and the back is straight. Just one more here. And down. And then just lastly, we're just going to warm up those feet. So just a small point, up and down, and then change. So again, this is working our balance, and it's also mobilising those ankles so that we're ready to start safely. And then both of you come up onto your tiptoes, again to think about that balance, thinking about that core. So we're coming up in a straight line and we're coming down. And just one more, now can we hold it here? Can we take the arms above the head? And slowly down. And let's do that again for me, coming up onto your toes. Can we balance? Can we take the arms up? and down. Good. So that was just a small warm up, and we're now going to get into your Pilates exercises.